The perfume in the air was expensive, the kind that smells like status. Mirrors lined every wall of Maison du Soir, one of LA's most exclusive fashion boutiques. Gold trim, velvet lounges, spotlights that lit mannequins like museum pieces. In the middle of it all, Carla, 52, stood awkwardly near a display of tailored blazers. Her hands were clean, but calloused. Her sneakers were worn. Her sweater? Faded. Too faded for this place. But her eyes were soft. Hopeful. She had saved for months to be here. To buy one outfit. Just one, for her daughter's graduation. She picked up a navy blazer, brushed her hand across the stitching and smiled. Then came the voice. Cold. Loud enough to cut through the jazz playing overhead. "Excuse me, can you not touch that?" Carla turned. A young sales associate, Mila, all cheekbones and judgment, stood beside a pair of other associates, arms crossed, lips curled. "You'll leave fingerprints," Mila added. "And it's dry clean only." Carla blinked. "Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see the size." Mila tilted her head. "It's out of your price range." The other women laughed. One of them whispered loudly, "She's not our customer." Carla gently set the blazer back. Her face flushed. Her hands shook slightly as she backed away. Near the entrance, a man stepped inside. Quietly. He wore a plain black hoodie. Dark jeans. A canvas messenger bag slung over one shoulder. The security guard barely glanced up. The man walked slowly past the perfume display, pausing as Carla moved toward the exit, red-faced, shoulders hunched, avoiding eye contact. His gaze followed her. Then shifted. To Mila. To the blazer. And then back to the injustice hanging in the air like stale perfume. He didn't speak. He didn't interrupt. But Keanu Reeves had just entered the boutique. And everything was about to change. Carla moved toward the boutique's glass doors with a kind of practiced shame. The kind you carry when you've been made to feel small in places built to be beautiful. Her purse strap kept sliding off her shoulder. She didn't fix it. Her face was hot. She didn't wipe it. Behind her, the saleswomen had already turned their backs, laughing now about something else, as if the sting of humiliation could just be folded into the next punchline. But then, something stopped her. Not a voice. Not a tap on the shoulder. Just a presence. Right in front of her. The man in the hoodie now stood by the exit, blocking the automatic door with his frame. Not aggressively. Not confrontationally. Just standing. And in his hands, the same navy blazer Carla had been told not to touch. He held it gently. Then, without a word, he turned and walked past her. Straight back into the store. Carla turned, confused. The security guard looked up, brow furrowed. Mila glanced over. Her smile faltered. Because Keanu Reeves, though she hadn't recognized him yet, was now walking directly toward the central register, blazer in hand. And the entire boutique fell silent. He placed the blazer on the counter. Calmly. One of the newer associates, the only one who hadn't laughed earlier, hesitantly approached. "Sir, can I help you?" Keanu didn't look at her. He looked at Carla, still near the door, unsure whether to stay or run. Then back at the blazer. And finally spoke softly. She was looking at this. The room froze. Mila took a single step forward. I told her we were about to put it in storage." Keanu looked at her. Not angry. Not smug. Just tired. "That's strange," he said. "Because it was on display." The girl beside Mila let out a quiet breath. No one spoke. No one moved. Because this man hadn't raised his voice. But somehow he had raised the truth. Keanu stood at the register, the blazer folded neatly in front of him. Mila stayed frozen beside the card display, trying to calculate the moment, trying to figure out whether she could still regain control of the room. But the truth was already tilted, and no amount of corporate polish could make it right. The associate at the counter, a young woman named Rosa, barely through her first month on the job, glanced between Keanu and the others. She could feel it too. This wasn't just a purchase. This was something else. Keanu reached into his messenger bag, pulled out a black card wallet, and placed it calmly on the counter. "I'd like this wrapped," he said, "as a gift." Rosa hesitated. Would you like a name on the tag? He didn't answer. Instead, he turned. Carla still stood near the entrance. Her hand was on the door, half open, ready to leave. He took a few slow steps toward her, then stopped. He didn't force eye contact. He didn't offer her a speech or a savior. He just reached forward and gently held out the small, wrapped box. You dropped something, he said. Carla blinked, caught between disbelief and something deeper, something raw. She opened her mouth to protest, to decline. She nodded, took the box with both hands. Her fingers brushed his, and in that brief moment, the shame she carried seemed to lessen. Not disappear, but lessen. Because someone had seen her. Because someone had stood up, not for her, but beside her. The boutique was silent. Mila turned away, pretending to straighten scarves that didn't need straightening. Behind her, Rosa watched, heart pounding. As Keanu turned to leave, he paused at the display window, looked out, then said, mostly to himself, "Funny how people think mirrors are for appearances. Sometimes they just show us what we really are." And just like that, he was gone. Mila returned behind the counter, still rattled but pretending otherwise, adjusting perfume bottles, flipping through catalogs, typing random notes into the register just to look busy. Her heart thudded in her chest louder than the soft jazz playing overhead. She could still feel it, the eyes. The judgment that, for once, wasn't hers to cast. Then the phone rang. A landline. Only managers ever picked it up. Rosa, still standing at the register, hesitated. Mila shot her a look. "I've got it." She snatched the receiver, twirling the cord out of habit. Maison du Soir, Beverly location, Mila speaking. The pause. Then her posture stiffened. Yes, I'm the assistant floor lead." Her tone shifted fast. Professional. Cautious. "Yes, I did assist a customer just now. No, I didn't recognize him. Wait who?" Another pause. Mila's throat tightened. She glanced at Rosa. Then at the door where Carla had exited minutes ago. The voice on the other end was calm, but absolute. That was Mr. Keanu Reeves. He's a silent partner in our LA boutique series. He visits anonymously to assess staff experience. Mila's knees nearly buckled. The voice continued. "A report has already been filed. An internal review will begin this week. Do not speak to press. And do not, under any circumstances, misrepresent what happened." The line went dead. Mila lowered the phone slowly. Her hands were suddenly cold. Not because she'd been caught, but because she never thought anyone important would care. She looked at Rosa, who stood very still. And for the first time in weeks, Mila didn't feel taller than her. She felt small. Behind the counter, Mila reached for a bottle of sanitizer to mask her shaking fingers. But no amount of polish would fix what the mirror had just shown her. The sun had dipped behind the glass towers downtown. Carla sat alone at the bus stop just across from Maison du Soir. The store lights still glowed softly behind her, but she didn't look back. On her lap rested the small black gift box, elegant, heavy, wrapped in silk ribbon. She hadn't opened it yet. She wasn't sure she should. But something about the weight of it felt more than physical. A few minutes passed. She took a breath and untied the ribbon. Inside, the navy blazer. Perfectly folded. Pristine. Exactly the one she'd held only an hour ago. Carla smiled gently. Her fingers traced the fabric. Then she noticed it, tucked just beneath the lapel. A folded note card. She opened it slowly, unsure what to expect. There was no signature. No name. Just handwriting, clean and steady. And it read, "Your value is not determined by the price tag of what you wear. It's in the way you show up, even when the room tells you not to. This was meant for you." Carla held the card tightly. No one had ever written her something like that. Not her boss. Not her neighbors. Not even her daughter, who, she reminded herself, this blazer was for. Her phone buzzed. A message from her daughter, "Maya. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Can you believe it's graduation already? Love you, Mom." Carla looked at the screen. Then at the blazer. And for the first time in months, she didn't feel like a burden. She felt seen. Across the street, A figure sat in a parked car. Engine off. Headlights dim. Keanu watched as Carla gently placed the blazer back in the box, hands steady now. A small smile on her face. He didn't take a photo. Didn't wave. He just nodded once to himself. Then pulled away, without a sound. Because some stories aren't meant to be told loudly. They're meant to be felt. The morning of Maya's graduation was cool and golden. The campus lawn was already crowded, balloons, folding chairs, floral dresses, and proud parents craning for glimpses of their children across the sea of caps and gowns. Carla stepped out of the rideshare just past 9 a.m. She held her breath. The navy blazer fit perfectly. As if it had always belonged to her. As if the boutique hadn't tried to tell her otherwise. She stood straighter. Walked lighter. Her shoes weren't new, and her bag still had a tear near the strap. But that didn't matter anymore. Because today she felt worthy. Maya spotted her from across the lawn. Still in her robe and cap, tassel bouncing, she rushed over, eyes wide, arms out. "Mom!" They hugged tightly, and for a moment, Carla forgot every late shift, every bill she folded before crying, every moment she'd convinced herself she was barely holding it together. Maya pulled back and looked at her. "You look amazing." Carla smiled. "You think?" Maya laughed, wiping at one eye. "You look like someone who never gave up." There was a pause. Then Maya asked quietly, "Where did you get that jacket?" Carla hesitated, then sat beside her on the edge of a nearby planter. And for the first time, she told her. Not everything. But enough. About the boutique. About the insult. About the man who didn't speak loudly, but made everything louder. Maya listened, stunned. When Carla finished, Maya said, "He did that for you?" Carla smiled softly. "No. He did it because someone finally saw what no one else bothered to." They didn't cry. They didn't need to. Because sitting there, on that buzzing college lawn, a mother and daughter finally shared something deeper than struggle. They shared pride. 2 days after the graduation, Carla was back at work. She managed inventory at a small neighborhood pharmacy, fluorescent lights, handwritten price tags, and customers who called her Miss, even though she'd worked there for 11 years. The pace was slow, quiet, and she didn't mind. But just before closing, the bell above the door chimed. Carla looked up from behind the counter and saw a young woman she didn't recognize, maybe early 20s, nervous posture, black slacks, a small leather bag hugged tight to her side. She stepped forward carefully. "Hi, you probably don't remember me," she said. "My name's Rosa. I work at Maison du Soir." Carla blinked. The name hit like a memory she didn't want, and then, like one she did. Rosa continued, "I was the one at the register that day. When you were looking at the blazer." Carla smiled gently. "I remember you." Rosa took a breath, then reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of thick stationery. She handed it over. "This was left for you. He asked me to wait a couple days before delivering it." Carla hesitated. "He?" Rosa nodded. "The man in the hoodie. The one who changed the room." Carla opened the note. Inside, in the same steady handwriting as before, were just a few lines. "You changed more than you know. The way you stood there, quiet, strong, gave others permission. Now let someone else see you the way you saw them. What would happen if you stayed in the room next time?" There was no name. Just that question. Carla looked up. Rosa was still standing there, eyes full of something she hadn't had the courage to say out loud. So Carla said it for her. "You stayed quiet that day." Rosa nodded. "I was scared." Carla reached forward and gently touched her hand. "But you brought this. You didn't stay scared." Rosa blinked, her lip trembling. "Thank you." As Rosa turned to leave, Carla called after her. "If they ever make you feel small in that place again." Rosa turned. Carla smiled. "Remind them who's watching." Outside, the sky had gone soft with evening. Rosa walked down the block, clutching her bag tighter, but her shoulders were straighter now. Because someone had seen her, too. 2 weeks later, Mila stood outside a minimalist office building in West Hollywood. Sleek glass, matte black accents, and a logo that screamed tech startup with venture backing. She smoothed her blazer, adjusted her hair in the reflection, and tried to ignore the pit in her stomach. Maison du Soir had parted ways with her days after the Keanu Reeves incident. No scandal, no press, just a cold, polite email with the words reputation risk and culture alignment. She needed this new job. Desperately. Inside the waiting room, Mila filled out the application form like her life depended on it, because in a way, it did. A young assistant in jeans and a hoodie came to collect her. Come on back. They'll see you now. Mila followed him down a bright hallway toward a door that read, Community Culture Lead, Interview Room B. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. There were two people seated behind the table. One she didn't recognize, a woman in her 30s, friendly but unreadable. The other? Carla. Hair tied back, clipboard in hand, wearing that same navy blazer. Mila froze mid-step. Carla didn't flinch. The interviewer smiled. This is Carla. She works with us on a freelance basis for our empathy-focused hiring program. We believe your behavior under pressure reveals more than your resume. Mila swallowed. The questions began, professional, neutral. Carla didn't speak. She simply observed, occasionally jotting something down. But Mila couldn't stop sweating. She knew what this was. She remembered every word she had said in that boutique. Don't touch that. It's out of your price range. She's not our customer. Now she was the one being evaluated. And she didn't know which part stung more, Carla's presence or her silence. After 30 minutes, the interview ended. Mila stood slowly, thanked them both, and turned to leave. At the door she paused, then whispered, I'm sorry. Carla looked up. Her voice was calm, steady. But now you know what it feels like. Mila nodded once, lips tight, and stepped into the hallway. For the first time, the sound of a closing door didn't feel like escape. It felt like reckoning. The office had cleared for lunch. Just the soft hum of an espresso machine in the break room and the muted clatter of keyboards left behind. Carla sat alone in interview room B, the file folders still open in front of her. Inside, Mila's resume, notes from the interview, and a post-it from the head of HR. Do you recommend a callback? Mixed reviews, your insight will be the decider. Carla stared at the note for a long time. Then she looked at the last line of her own scribbled page. 3 words. She was me. She thought back. To the day in the boutique. To the sting of being dismissed. To the heat behind her ears when someone said she didn't look like she belonged. But she also remembered the hours she spent working 2 jobs in her 20s. The fear of saying the wrong thing in front of someone powerful. The walls she built just to feel safe in rooms that judged first and asked later. Mila had been cruel. But not because she was born that way. Because no one stopped her. Until someone finally did. Rosa knocked gently on the open door, holding 2 paper cups. I got the good coffee. Thought you might want a break. Carla smiled and took one. Thanks. Rosa sat across from her. You thinking about Mila? Carla nodded. They want my recommendation. Rosa hesitated. And? Carla looked down. Then said quietly, I don't need her to pay. I need her to understand. Rosa sipped her coffee. You think she does? Carla didn't answer right away. Then closed the folder. I think she's finally listening. 10 minutes later, she typed her final line in the email response. Recommend provisional hire, under mentorship. If she wants to grow, let's give her space to. Then she hit send. Not because Mila deserved it, but because once, Carla hadn't either. And someone gave her space anyway. Mila's first day felt nothing like she imagined. No onboarding gift box. No welcome banner. Just a simple desk near a window and a login card clipped to a lanyard that didn't have her name on it yet. She wasn't introduced as our newest star or an exciting hire. She was introduced simply as Mila. She'll be shadowing Carla this quarter. Some of the staff nodded politely. A few glanced twice, like they knew or thought they did. No one said it out loud. But the air around her felt like a second chance wrapped in watchful silence. Carla didn't treat her like a criminal. But she didn't coddle her either. She handed her a stack of files mid-morning. These are from community partners. Read them before you speak at tomorrow's roundtable. Mila frowned. Do I have a speaking role? Carla didn't look up. You have a listening role. At lunch, Mila ate at her desk. No one invited her out. She reread the note from her HR onboarding packet. We believe mistakes are part of growth, but only if you choose to grow. The words stuck like a pebble in her shoe. That afternoon, Carla led a call with a small business owner from Echo Park who'd been struggling with rent hikes. Mila sat in on the video call, notebook in hand, trying not to fidget. The client's voice cracked halfway through as he described losing his storefront. Carla didn't rush him, didn't jump to solutions. She just listened. Quietly. Respectfully. And when she finally spoke, it was only to say, "You deserve to be heard sooner." After the call ended, Mila remained seated. Carla glanced over. Mila swallowed, then asked, "Was that what it's supposed to look like?" Carla turned to her fully. It's not about looking like anything. It's about making someone feel like they matter, even if they're not holding a credit card. Mila nodded slowly. Because this wasn't about perfect answers anymore. It was about unlearning. And maybe, just maybe, becoming. It was nearly 3 p.m. when the escalation hit. A business owner from Silver Lake, Ms. Horton, late 50s, exhausted and overwhelmed, walked in unannounced. Her bakery had been misfiled in the funding registry, delaying a critical grant. Now rent was due. And patience? Gone. I've left 4 voicemails. 4, she snapped, slapping a folder down on the front desk. You people think just because we're small we'll wait forever? Mila stood behind the desk, alone. Carla was still in a meeting upstairs. The room was open, staff nearby but keeping their distance, watching. Mila took a breath. Her instinct screamed to shut down, defend, redirect. But instead, she did something she wouldn't have done weeks ago. She stepped forward. I'm so sorry you've had to chase us down, Mila said, voice steady. You're right to be frustrated. You shouldn't have had to wait. Ms. Horton blinked. Mila gestured toward a side room. If you're open to it, I'd love to sit down and figure out how we can fix this, right now. Horton narrowed her eyes. You don't look like the kind who listens. Mila's voice didn't flinch. I'm learning to. Inside the side room, Mila didn't interrupt. She asked questions. Took notes. Let silence sit when it needed to. And when she brought Carla the update an hour later, her page was full. She handed it over without comment. Carla skimmed it in silence. Then looked up. You didn't defend yourself. Mila nodded. I defended her. Carla's lips curved, just slightly. You're getting it. That night, Mila stayed late, cleaning up the notes, organizing follow-up calls for Horton and 3 other clients who'd slipped through cracks. When she left the building, her steps were slower, heavier. But this time, she didn't feel judged. She felt responsible. And that was the point. Late evening. The building was quiet, the city dimming into soft gold through the windows. Carla sat at her desk, a mug of cold tea beside her, the last of the day's reports stacked neatly in a tray. She didn't rush to leave. Some days were like that, not heavy, just full. She opened her notebook. Not for work. For herself. A blank page stared back. And slowly she began to write. There's a quiet that comes after the noise. Not silence. Not escape. Just understanding. I used to think value was something you earned. With approval, with appearances, with permission. But it isn't. Value is something you already carry. And the world tries its hardest to make you forget it. She paused. Looked out the window. Then continued. Mila's getting better. Not perfect. But she listens now. Not to win, but to understand. I saw myself in her. Not the polished version. The one I worked to outgrow. The one that needed grace more than punishment. Keanu never told me what to do. He didn't tell anyone, really. He just stood still until the room told the truth. And when someone sees you like that, you start to see yourself differently too. Carla tore the page from her notebook. Folded it once. Slipped it into a drawer she rarely opened, the one labeled, Not Yet. Then she stood, turned off the lamp, and stepped out into the hall. Downstairs, Mila was still typing. Rosa was packing up. The air buzzed quietly with the sound of something rare in a workplace. Outside, the city kept moving, loud, fast, full of people trying to matter. But in one little corner of it, a few of them already did. Because someone once held the door open. And never asked for credit. Thanks for watching. Have you ever been changed by a moment of quiet kindness? Tell your story in the comments. You never know who might read it at just the right time.